Have you ever felt like your emotions hijack your life? Like one bad moment can ruin your entire day? You're not weak. You're just human. But here's the truth no one tells you. Your emotions are not your enemies. They're signals. And when you learn to master those signals, everything changes. Today, we're diving deep into Control Your Emotions by Patrick King, a powerful book that doesn't just tell you to stay calm. It actually shows you how to take back the driver's seat of your emotional world. Patrick King, a renowned author and social interaction specialist, wrote this book as a practical manual for anyone tired of being controlled by anger, fear, overthinking, or anxiety. By the end of this breakdown, you'll walk away with the tools to understand, manage, and redirect your emotions, not suppress them. Lesson 1. Emotions are messages, not enemies. Most people grow up believing that emotions are problems to fix or weaknesses to hide. Patrick King flips this idea on its head. He explains that emotions are actually data, not directives. Fear doesn't mean you should run. Anger doesn't mean you should fight. Sadness doesn't mean you should give up. These are signals, just like a dashboard light in your car. When a light turns on, you don't smash the dashboard. You check under the hood. He teaches that emotional control begins when you observe your emotions without obeying them. Instead of saying, "I am angry," you learn to say, "I'm feeling anger right now." That small shift separates your identity from the emotion, giving you room to respond instead of react. Practical viewpoint. Think of a time when someone cut you off in traffic. Your first reaction might be rage. But what if instead of reacting, you said to yourself, "I'm noticing frustration right now." That 3-second gap can be the difference between a ruined day and a calm, controlled response. Lesson 2. Detachment is power. Patrick King emphasizes a skill that feels almost superhuman: detachment. Not in the cold, emotionless way, but in a strategic way. Detachment means not tying your identity to how you feel in a moment. When something happens, like a harsh comment or a sudden failure, your brain builds a story around it. Detachment allows you to say, "This happened, but it's not who I am." This is how emotionally strong people keep their peace even in storms. They don't fight every emotional wave, they surf it. Practical viewpoint. Imagine getting a negative comment online. Instead of spiraling into insecurity, you pause, detach, and say, "That's one person's opinion, not the definition of me." You just saved your energy for things that actually matter. Lesson 3. Emotional triggers are your teachers. Most people run away from emotional triggers. Patrick King argues you should study them. Your triggers are like maps pointing to unhealed parts of you. If rejection crushes you, maybe it's because deep down you've tied your worth to others' approval. If failure terrifies you, perhaps your self-image is built on perfection. Identifying and analyzing these triggers is the gateway to freedom. Practical viewpoint. Picture someone ignoring your message. Instead of spiraling, "They hate me," you pause and ask, "Why does this bother me so much?" That moment of honesty can lead to powerful personal growth. Lesson 4. Control begins with awareness. You can't control what you're not aware of. Patrick King teaches that emotional control isn't about brute force. It starts with awareness, noticing the moment emotions rise instead of realizing it when they've already exploded. He suggests journaling, mindfulness, and naming your emotions out loud as powerful tools to keep your mind clear and grounded. Practical viewpoint. Think about a heated argument with someone close. Instead of letting anger hijack your words, awareness lets you say, "I'm feeling triggered right now. I need a moment." That one sentence can save a relationship from unnecessary damage. Lesson 5. You are not your thoughts. One of the most liberating truths in this book: you are not your thoughts. Emotions often ride on the back of racing, irrational thoughts. Patrick King explains that you can observe your thoughts like clouds passing through the sky, not get trapped in the storm. By refusing to identify with every passing thought, you weaken their power over your emotional state. Practical viewpoint. Let's say your brain whispers, "You'll never succeed." Instead of believing it, you say, "That's just a thought, not a prophecy." Instantly, your emotional reaction loses its grip. Lesson 6. Respond, don't react. Patrick King introduces the idea of the pause, that tiny gap between what happens to you and how you respond. People who control their emotions master that gap. They don't give their power to external events. Instead, they choose their response carefully, like someone holding a sword instead of swinging wildly. Practical viewpoint. Imagine your boss criticizes your work in front of everyone. The reactive version of you snaps. The controlled version pauses, breathes, and responds calmly, turning a potential disaster into an opportunity to show strength. Lesson 7. Emotional control is built daily. Emotional mastery isn't a one-day event. It's daily training, like going to the gym for your mind. Patrick King insists on building emotional resilience through consistent habits, breathing exercises, mindfulness, journaling, reframing, and controlled exposure to uncomfortable emotions. Practical viewpoint. Think of emotional control like brushing your teeth. You don't do it once and never again. The more you practice it, the more automatic and natural it becomes. Lesson 8. Emotions lose power when named. Patrick King introduces a deceptively simple but incredibly powerful principle. Name it to tame it. When an emotion rises like a wave, most people drown because they never identify what's happening inside them. Instead, they become the emotion. Anger becomes, "I am angry." Anxiety becomes, "I am anxious." But when you name the emotion, this is anxiety, this is anger, this is shame, your brain literally shifts gears. Here's why this works. Neuroscientists have found that naming emotions moves activity from the amygdala, the panic center, to the prefrontal cortex, the logical brain. In other words, the moment you give a feeling a name, it starts to lose its grip on you. You turn chaos into something your mind can hold, examine, and eventually control. Patrick King suggests keeping an emotional vocabulary, a list of words to describe what you feel with precision. Instead of just saying "I'm mad," try "I feel irritated," "I feel dismissed," or "I feel threatened." The more precise you are, the easier it becomes to manage the emotional storm. Practical viewpoint. Imagine you're about to step on stage to speak, and suddenly your heart pounds. Your palms sweat. You might normally spiral into panic. But this time, you whisper to yourself, "This is fear. This is anxiety." As you name it, your breath slows, your awareness expands, and you regain control. You haven't erased the feeling. You've taken the driver's seat. Lesson 9. Pain is temporary, perspective is forever. Patrick King reminds us of a hard truth. Emotions are fleeting, but the meaning we attach to them can last a lifetime. Pain, fear, sadness, they come like passing storms. But if you misinterpret those storms as permanent weather, you end up living under a cloud that should have passed long ago. Here's the secret. Emotional control is more about managing your perspective than erasing pain. Pain is inevitable, but how you frame it determines whether it breaks you or builds you. A breakup can be the end of your world, or the beginning of self-discovery. A rejection can be a sign you're worthless, or proof you're trying something bold. Patrick teaches that when you adjust your perspective, you reclaim your power over pain. He also emphasizes the importance of acceptance. Emotional control isn't pretending to be okay. It's saying, "This hurts, but it won't define me." Pain is information, not identity. Practical viewpoint. Imagine losing a major job opportunity. The first emotion might be crushing disappointment. But after naming that feeling, you shift your perspective. This isn't a dead end, it's a redirection. Months later, that same rejection could lead you to a better door. Pain was temporary, but your perspective? That became your power. Lesson 10. You always have a choice. This is the ultimate message of Patrick King's book. No matter how chaotic life becomes, you always have a choice. You may not choose what happens, but you do choose what it means and how you respond. Emotions often make us feel like prisoners. When anger surges, it whispers, "You must yell." When sadness hits, it says, "You must isolate." But emotional mastery gives you space between stimulus and response, a space where power lives. Viktor Frankl once said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Patrick King echoes this truth throughout the book. Choosing your response doesn't mean you suppress emotion. It means you acknowledge it, process it, and decide your next move consciously, not emotionally. Over time, this builds emotional resilience, a kind of mental armor that keeps you grounded no matter what storm hits. Practical viewpoint. Picture someone publicly humiliating you. Rage floods your chest. The easy choice is to lash out. But then you breathe, step back into that space of choice and respond with calm power. In that moment, you've won a battle most people lose daily, the battle against emotional control. You've chosen strength over impulse. In conclusion, emotions will always show up: fear, anger, sadness, anxiety. But Patrick King reminds us they don't have to rule you. You can listen, learn, and lead yourself through them. Now I want to hear from you. Which emotion usually tries to control you the most? And which lesson from this breakdown hit home for you the hardest? This is the Summary Shelf, where we turn books into life-changing blueprints. If you found this breakdown powerful, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, because the next summary might just shift the way you see yourself forever. Don't just read books. Live them.